What's up, guys? Just sending a few invites out, and I'll jump in here. Welcome in. Whoa. What's up, Dutch? How you doing, dude? Just a bit insane. Yeah, I have to wear the headband now, man. It's getting a little too long. I don't have to, but it's a little hot, keeps it a little cool. So, dude, Dutch, I got two videos down right now because one, one got reported by sensitive little lefties who don't like the topic of voting, and then I was talking about like conservatives and how the Civil War might not have ever ended, and that got taken down for violent extremism. What's up, Doggy? If I just butcher that, I apologize. Yeah, always trying to keep it real. All right, let's see. We are on YouTube right now. I might stay here for like about 30 minutes and hop over to YouTube. We'll see how it's going to go, though. We shall see. You know, it's one of the interesting things in life, guys, right? You'll say something, right? And then someone who's not sure what to say will leave the cry laughing emojis, right? And what that means is, I don't like what you said. I want to be heard, but I don't have any substance to respond with. So here I am. And the beautiful thing is, it's just a fucking boost. So we love it, right? No, I am not Arab. I am Iranian. I am Persian. I am not Arab. I mean, what Trump needs, this country is too soft to do. So if you know it, and this is something I talk about, if we were ironic, people don't have to be kind. I don't care. So it's ironic, but if we were like the strong country, like the MAGA hopes that we were, those January 6th people wouldn't be getting little slaps on the wrist like they are, would they? Oh, Dutch with the epic troll. Yeah, plenty to talk about though. I had planned on talking a little bit about abortion, talking about some of the reactions we're seeing on both sides of these things and how some of them are kind of ahistorical. And by that I mean, for example, like, and look, man, I think what's happening with Roe v. Wade and all this is obviously egregious, but there is a lot to be said for how there's a certain group of people who are just now being like, oh man, can't believe rights are being taken away. It's like, yeah, welcome to the United States of America. Rights have been taken away since day one. It's an active process. Welcome to the game. So, welcome to the game. No, I was a soccer player. I mean, I like play tackle football with the friends and stuff like that, and I played in a flag football league. But no, I haven't played legit football. No, not on a team like that. Soccer player. I don't know. I don't get that reference. Isaac Cappy, is that you? I haven't heard of that one. The USA is a scam, not free. I have less right facts. USA is a scam. It's an epic, epic piece of marketing. That's what the United States of America is. Dutch, don't give away my secrets, bro. Cruz. So see, this is something that's really, really just silly. This is a silly talking point. They're not taking right away; they're just passing it down to the state because Congressman failed to pass. He's going to say failed to pass any legislation to codify Roe v. Wade, or do in that sense. But here's why that fails. Here's why that fails. You're saying no rights are being taken away, so that would imply that states don't have trigger laws, right? And states aren't currently trying to pass laws that would restrict the right. Correct? Not correct, of course. So either you're really deeply ignorant, which is fine. Lots of people are on a variety of topics. So am I. Right? But either you really don't know what you're talking about because you're not paying attention to what's happening at the state level, or you're intellectually dishonest, right? And you're going to try to lie to people dead in the eye about what's actually happening. And I'm not sure which one's the case for you, but either way, not a good look. Exactly. The state shouldn't decide what state shouldn't decide at all. And that's the thing that's really
And
interesting.
I'm not
Right?
sure
They'll be
which
like,
one's the case for you.
oh, geez, don't want to hear myself. That's what's really gross about it is they'll be like, oh, like we want small government, but the federal government's protection, right? So Roe v. Wade through the Supreme Court actually did allow for small government, right? So the government stays out of it and people make individual choices. But if you want to return it to the state, this is now state governments infringing upon people's rights, and it's actually big government. So it's like deeply hypocritical. There's no good pro-life position, no matter what angle you take. It's all whack, but not surprising. Oh, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, Mad Season. Just smarter than you. Nice beard, by the way. Being patriotic is morally acceptable. What's wrong with being patriotic? The problem is a lot of people's patriotism isn't patriotism at all. It's just really disgusting nationalism of a certain flavor, right? That's the problem. Plus, why should state will limit? Yeah, state shouldn't. Isn't in our Constitution. Did you know? Okay, well, that's interesting. So, your current free speech standard, that's not explicitly in the Constitution, right? Do you know what jurisprudence is? So, for example, your current Second Amendment standard wasn't explicitly in the Constitution. There's so many things that are not explicitly in the Constitution. Originally, slavery was allowed for in the Constitution. So, like that type of logic, just like without any support, is incredibly problematic, right? Again, it shows a lack of understanding for jurisprudence. It shows a lack of understanding for how things were amended over time. It shows a lack of understanding of how societies progress in general. And it's just this really like stuck in the mud mindset that's kind of dependent upon you picking when you want to apply it. So it's just really trashy logic, to be quite frank. Cruzito, you can say not true, but that just, again, you don't know what you're talking about. So, for example, your current free speech standard is from your 1969 Ohio versus Brandenburg case, right? So we cannot incite imminent lawless action. Before that, it used to be something, it wasn't exactly this, to kind of get it misconstrued, but for lack of a better phrase, or lack of a better way of putting it, it used to be the whole you can't shout fire in a crowded building type of thing, right? And a lot of that was predicated upon anti-war movements, socialist movements, the women's suffrage movements, labor movements, things like that, right? So their free speech rights were restricted in the early 1900 America, and there was different court cases on this, right, and things like that. And it pushed the standard until 1969, where we have the current standard, right? So the standards actually expanded over time. Like it was way easier to get slapped with seditious speech once upon a time in America, but again, jurisprudence over time has opened up our free speech standard and given us more leeway with what we can say. So again, it helps to have some kind of basic knowledge of history when you want to partake in these kinds of conversations. The problem is a lot of conservatives don't. A lot of leftists don't either. Like when we talk about voting and shit like that, they just spew. They don't know what they're talking about. But I mean, that's humans in general, ignorant as fuck. So what are you gonna do about it? Jim Eagle, congratulations. First person to get blocked for anti-Semitism. God bless. I don't really block anybody, but the one thing that'll get you blocked is outright obvious hate speech, especially if it's directed towards other people within the chat, or if you're gonna like hit me with anti-Semitism or things like that. I'm just gonna say bye-bye, right? No, I don't have a barber. I don't waste money on a barber or time on a barber. I just let it grow out, and then when it's time, I shave it all off. Half the reason I let the hair grow is just because it triggers a lot of racist snowflakes. Honestly, they don't like the curls. They don't like the fro. They don't like anything that doesn't like look exactly like what they should think. Right when it's like that kind of like we'll call it that fake little professional look they like. You know, it's actually rooted in racism, but that's okay. Yeah, but if you just want to be rude or troll, go for it. I'm not going to block you. Have a good time. Appreciate you being here and commenting in the live. You seem troubled. I am troubled. You're right. I am troubled. I'm troubled by the state of affairs. I'm troubled by the direction that our government's heading in. I'm troubled by the direction our economy's headed in. I'm troubled by climate change. There's a lot of things that trouble me. So you're right. We should all be troubled given the state of the world. We should all be bothered by how things are going. If you're not troubled, hell, I want what you're on. Must be a hell of a rock you're living under. Nice. I've been to San Antonio a couple times. I like it. I'm good. How you doing? This guy's an order of I do like French fries. Nothing wrong with a good old Happy Meal. Yeah, not a Biden fan here. Don't get me wrong, I can't stand MAGA, but don't like Democrats. I don't like Joe Biden either. So, oh, what's up, Potatoes? Good to see you, man. I can respect that, Mr. Skies. Less money going towards corporations, the better. Miss Selena, I'm center right. Convict Uno says, how we know climate change if we got no record of temperature before dinosaurs. And so something you can look at, for example, is your part per millions, CO2 and part per millions, right? And we can gauge that. This is a little bit above my pay grade. I'm not like a freaking climate scientist, right? But you can look at what the part per millions were throughout the decades, throughout the centuries, right? Going back. And typically it maxed out at about 250, right? And you'd see kind of like go up and down, max at 250. Since the Industrial Revolution, in the last 150 years, which is like a really small amount of time compared to the amount of time which it fluctuates, we've seen this sharp rise to about 400, for example. You can gauge your polar ice caps and the rate that things are melting and things like that. You can gauge the rate of sea level rise and things like that. So there's different things you can look at, different metrics you can look at. Check out NASA, lots of good information there. So. Would you rather eat ice cream flavored shit or shit flavored ice cream? Ain't that the question? It's kind of what it feels like when you got to vote at the national level sometimes. I don't have anything against MLs necessarily. Yes, trap does blow. So severely ask, what do you have against MLs? I don't have anything against Marxist Leninists specifically at all. In fact, I agree with a lot of the rhetoric and a lot of the critiques that come out of that camp. My biggest issue with a specific group of self-described MLs on TikTok, so you don't want to over extrapolate that, is they're fake moral purists, right? So they have determined that everything they believe is absolute, 100% correct, no deviating from that. And if you don't toe their line 100% of the way, then all of a sudden, you must be, white supremacist, so on and so forth. And it's kind of ironic because oftentimes I think they're actually peddling rhetoric that plays into the hands of white supremacy. So I am adamant that, for example, if you push anti-voting rhetoric, you are peddling white supremacist rhetoric. And I think that's actually really easy to defend. Someone wants to know why, I can go into that. And again, I don't think, and look, if someone's giving the position that we should emphasize more focus, more energy, more of our resources towards direct action, mutual aid, things like that, so on and so forth down the line, as opposed to electoralism. Okay, I can hear that. Totally fair, right? But if you're going to absolutely make the position, like an absolute position that just voting doesn't matter, has no impact, that's a really different position than saying, I think protesting, I think boycotts, I think strikes, I think mutual aid work, I think community organizing is more important than simply voting, or we can't just vote, right? Fair. I would agree, actually, myself. But again, the anti-voting rhetoric is really problematic for a variety of reasons. So, yeah, no worries. It was a good question, severely. I don't even necessarily have an issue with tankies inherently. I think that sometimes some tankies get some things wrong, and I think it becomes a little extreme. Like, so I think a big problem is dehumanization on any level. And I don't want to speak for a tanky, but I think tankies sometimes can hit a point where they dehumanize what are really dangerous groups, really dangerous ideologies. But when it comes down to it, I think that's always a dangerous path. Like, look, man, I'm kind of in the punch a Yahtzee crowd, right? I'm like, you know what? I don't really F with the fascists. I think they're going to get what's coming to them in some sense, right? And I got to be careful with what I say on a TikTok live. But at the end of the day, it's still a human being, right? And life is complex. So, for example, you got people in America who are like outright KKK types, you know, they're outright racist, they're outright wearing that shit on their sleeves and they're proud of it. And then you got a lot of people who, for whatever reason, maybe ignorance, fear, lack of exposure, lack of education, they're complicit in that movement without realizing what they're complicit in. And I think sometimes we're too quick to lump all these groups together under one label, and it eliminates our ability to kind of talk to people, have good conversations, and maybe help them see the error of some of their ways. Like there's things that I believe in the past that are super fucking ugly, super fucking problematic, right? And I'd like to think that because I was able to see the light on some of these things and kind of grow and progress and continue to do that, right? Because obviously you're always deconstructing yourself from the indoctrination that we get hit with in this country. So I'd like to think that if it's possible for me, it has to be possible for others, right? So I think sometimes they're a little too quick to dehumanize and just throw all the people under one umbrella. So life is simple, not complicated. In some ways it's simple, in some ways it's complicated. No, I don't think the Democratic Party's for me. I just think they're marginally better than the Republicans. Not marginally, they're better than Republicans, but both have their corporate donors. I don't think Democrats are doing enough to help America. That's for sure. Um, but one party is trying to take us off the cliff at a really high speed. So that seems a lot worse. Someone told me love would save us all. I don't. I'm so tired of that. No offense, Miss Alina, you're awesome, Alina Mina. But everyone says that we need more love, and I fucking disagree in part. I was talking about this with Dutch and Run the other day, so apologize to you guys because you're going to hear the same thing. But I was going to make the argument that we don't have enough hate, and people are like, "What are you talking about, man? Like, hate's the problem." Is it though? So, like, for example, if you really truly love something, right? If you love your fellow human beings, right? If you love your family, if you love your significant other, if something threatens the existence or threatens the quality of life of that which you love, what is the emotion you're going to feel towards that thing? Probably hate, right? So if you really love this country, if you really love the people in this country, if you really love the marginalized, if you really love everyone you're talking about standing up for, and there's something that threatens that group, you should hate that thing that threatens them, right? You should fucking hate that thing. And I think that love and hate are great motivators for action. And when I look around the country, there's not a lot of action, in my opinion. So I'd argue we have a lack of hate because there's a lack of love, and we have a lack of love because there's a lack of hate. I hope that makes sense. But again, I think if there's enough love and enough hate, so to your point, Alina, you're partially correct. If we had enough of both those things, there'd be way more action. But apathy rules the day. So understanding is greater than hate. Why are they mutually exclusive? If you truly understand the depths of depravity that some of these ideologies would take you to, why is it wrong to hate that? Like, so understanding, so understanding Hitler's ideology is greater than hating it, in your opinion, Michael? Because I think that's a silly take, right? I know it's extreme, but once you make a statement, we can apply the logic even at the extremes and see if it holds. And it doesn't hold, in my opinion. I want less government in my life. Given what our current government looks like, that's fair. Cricket, women want less government in their lives, right? The marginalized people in this country want less government in their lives. Yeah. Felons want less government in their lives. People are just trying to smoke a J want less government in their lives. There's actually a really cool test that we can do for libertarians, right? So if someone proclaims themselves to be a libertarian, I just ask them what's their view on borders. I ask them what's their view on the war on drugs. I ask them what's their view on the 13th Amendment and crime in general. And that's a good starting point. Also, up, Hippie? How you doing? Yeah, there's a lot of comments. If I miss a comment, go ahead and just try and hit me again with it. I'm not trying to ignore people, but there's a decent amount coming through. So also appreciate you guys sending the likes. Share the live out if you want to. Bring more people into the space. So I think a libertarian's view on abortion would be leave it to the individual, right? Leave it to the woman to make a choice between her and her doctor, right? I don't know a ton about Katie Porter. I've answered this question before, but whenever I do see her pop up, like I see a clip of her or something she said, I typically like her. So, no, 916. I am, well, yeah, I'm agnostic atheist. So, like, I don't believe in a God. but I don't know. So I mean, I'm not sure, right? So I consider myself an agnostic atheist in the sense that I don't really know. CD Gissinger, no one really supports being a baby killer, right? Like, I don't know, like, for example, I'm obviously not a fan of conservatives in general. I'm obviously not a fan of Republicans in general. Certainly not a fan of the hyper right wing, right? But I don't think that most of those people, if any, want to be baby killers. Like, nobody really wants to be a baby killer. That's a really frowned upon thing across all societies. In our society, no matter what your beliefs are, almost everyone agrees that like killing babies is bad. So once you accept this like basic fucking thought, you'll realize that you're just using really extreme rhetoric to dehumanize people and not have to put any kind of thought or substance towards the conversation. It's really easy to take someone's view, right? So for example, my views on abortion are actually pretty well thought out. And if you can just ignore all of that, right? The years I put into kind of developing this conclusion, if you can ignore all of that and just say, oh, baby killer. Yeah, okay. If that's what you say, sure. But like, it's just easy straw man dismissal. So I wish it was Bob Ross. Bob Ross is super cool. No, I've only blocked one person. I blocked someone who is using anti-Semitism. But if the mods block, the mods block. So, but again, I've always told the mods, unless someone's utilizing like clear hate speech or attacking someone in the comments, let them be. Boom, 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 boom. No, of course they don't. Seabar Sea Dog Park is nothing without you. I agree. Yes, the mods. I don't know if you understand how TikTok works, buddy, but you see, you can make people moderators of your lives. So, for example, people who've been around the page for a long time, friends of mine, I give them a mod status because I'm busy having a conversation with you guys. I don't really got time to, go check someone out and block them or all that jazz, right? So, when they see really, really ugly speech in the chat, that's usually what gets a block. So, but I make it clear, I really don't care for the most part. Hey, what's up, Nikki? How you doing? Laughing my ass off. You are softer than a soft pillow. That's pretty soft. Well, it's interesting, 916. You say that, but how come conservatives are so quick to go and try and cancel my page? Like, you guys have got me taken down. You guys report all my videos. Like, you're a pretty cancelly bunch. Like, let's be honest. I think cancel culture probably originates with the white Christian. Like, the white Christian probably created cancel culture because if you think about it, they took Jesus, they changed his skin color, they totally stole his message and made it the complete opposite and then slapped it on themselves as a group. And they put that out there into the world for the last hundreds of years, right? So, I mean, it's kind of ironic to hear white Christian conservatives talk about cancel culture and cry about it, consider they created it. You guys are really good at it too. So, but it is kind of annoying when you get a taste of your own medicine, isn't it? So I can't understand the tears. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Conservatives do, I mean, people in general project a lot, to be fair, but yes, conservatives do project a decent amount. I know. That's the funny thing, too. They're like, oh, you don't like MAGA? You must be a liberal. Don't like them either. Yeah, I got requests, but I'm just going solo tonight. I think I got 3 requests in there. Got Turtle. I don't know who this guy is. I feel like I've seen the name before. Saying always and Miss Selena. If I was going to accept anyone to be Miss Selena. Did Jesus have social media? Yes. No, just because I'm doing a simple live. How about this? Mr. Saying, if you want in next Monday, we can go at it. You pick the topic. No, I'm not a fan of liberalism in general. Yeah, I'm fairly athletic. Like, I'm not a freak, but I'm fairly athletic. No, Jesus would not have been a liberal. because I don't think Jesus would support capitalism, and liberalism supports capitalism when it comes down to it. Liberalism supports the United States of America when it comes down to it. Um, if you look at Democrats, a large base of which are liberals, when it comes down to it, there's a lot of reaction to bad things that Republicans do. But I mean, how's Joe Biden doing with the border wall right now? How's Joe Biden doing on immigration in general right now? How's Joe Biden doing on crime right now, right? In terms of funding the police and things like that. How's Joe Biden doing on oil and things like that? So it's like, and it's more complex than that, right? The president only has so much ability to do things. You got to look at Congress, you got to look at the state level and things like that. But I think a lot of liberals are great at pointing the finger at Republican bullshit. They're not so great at pointing the finger at their own bullshit or understanding how their own ideology is sometimes complicit in promoting conservatism. Um, I'm using these terms kind of interchangeably right now. But like, for example, you can look at the DNC. A common strategy from the DNC lately has been to try to promote the more extremist Republicans. For example, we know Clinton's campaign was trying to promote Trump's campaign early on because she thought he'd be easier to defeat than some of the other players in the field. And despite that blowing up in their faces, they continue that strategy. So it makes you wonder sometimes. So yeah, I don't really like Democrats in general. I don't really like liberalism in general. A lot of good liberals out there. But again, I think that sometimes they're a little too rah rah USA still. Politics is a dirty game. Well, the thing with the 2016 election is there was Russian disinformation, right? So if you look at the disinformation campaign from bots and things like that to kind of impact the information climate in the United States of America, that was totally a thing. To the levels that some people say it went, like if you're saying like collusion and shit like that, I mean that's too much for me. But yeah, the disinformation campaign was definitely there. So saying I will remember it, dude. I don't need other people to remember it. You and I will remember. Like I'm straight up telling you, I'll be here Monday at 6 o'clock Pacific time. And if you want to hop in, I usually go for 30 minutes those nights. So if you want to hop in, I'll give you at least 15 minutes. My one rule is this: like I'll keep it respectful as long as you keep it respectful. I'm not saying you wouldn't, by the way. No interrupting, things like that. You know, we let people kind of finish their thoughts, and if it goes well, we can keep talking. If not, we'll call it a day, 15-minute mark. But I mean, I got people in here who work with me um, who will hold me to it, and plus you'll hold me to it, I'm sure. Do you see yourself as just a contrarian? No, I don't think so. I mean, there's a contrarian aspect in me, no doubt about it. But no, I think you can utilize that as a tool to kind of highlight things. But no, I don't think I'm just a contrarian for contrarian's sake. You know, so like I used to be conservative growing up. I was a registered Republican at one point. I've been on the wrong side of a lot of these conversations for a decent amount of my life. Right, I'm 29 years old now. Um, so no, I don't think so. No, I'm not getting paid to do this. That'd be dope. If you know how I can get paid to do this, let me know, man. That'd be awesome. I just do this because I enjoy it. The YouTube schedule. So typically we do YouTube Mondays and Fridays at 6 o'clock Pacific time, 9 o'clock Eastern. Instead of a YouTube live tonight, it is on YouTube right now, but instead of just being on YouTube exclusively, I'm on here. But we are streaming to the YouTube page right now. There's a few people on there watching. But yeah, youtube.com/meet the media. You can go to the link tree in my bio, click on that, go subscribe. There's a lot of content up there already, but we go Mondays and Fridays at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. A lot of great content up there. We've had some people like Thomas the Villain on there, Army Overlord, Micah Valentine. We've had some fun panel discussions with some of the people within their groups. I'm missing some people for sure. We had a good discussion on abortion with Hema.onk, Live Life. I'm missing someone else. Burnett Kajes, Little Miss Marxist, and producer Cheyenne is on there. So what's up, Sasha? What's up? And what's up, Aaron? How you doing, bro? Skepticism is healthy, right? 100%. You're the only one who will remember your audience is what is misled. That's my point. Own it right now. You don't have a point. So, for example, what's my audience? Like, is it a monolith of people who just like bobble their heads to what I say? Probably not. For example, the other day they got all butt hurt. Not all of them, but some of them got butt hurt about my post on guns. Lots of healthy disagreement in there, right? I'm way more pro 2A in general than a lot of people who follow the page. My stance on abortion, sometimes people disagree with it, right? They don't think that my point about personhood is relevant, and they might have a point there. I've had to rethink that to some extent. A lot of people disagree with my takes on voting within the people who follow me, right? A lot of people disagree with my takes on Russia and Ukraine and things like that. So who's being misled exactly, in your opinion, then? Yeah, I have mods. I've got friends who are kind enough to sit here while listening to live and boot out really ugly rhetoric. My take on the Bible, burn it. My take on religion is this in general, though, man. If you want to take the Bible or other holy texts as a metaphor for human behavior and action, that could work, right? If it's prescriptive. If you want to take your holy text as like this description of what reality is, that can't work. That's going to be piss poor metaphysics. Um, so I don't really have like, look, man, I don't really have an issue with religion if someone recognizes that everyone's religion is kind of their own individual thing. It's about your own kind of spirituality and your own answers for life at large. And if you utilize it to live your life in the best way possible and try and uplift others, that's fucking awesome. No issue with that. I don't want to take that away from you. If you utilize your religion to demonize other people, to hate other people, to justify like the superiority complex towards other people, that's going to be a problem. And you got good and bad with it, just like most things in life. So, boom, 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 boom. Am I a secular humanist? I've never like labeled myself as such, but I would probably fuck with the camp in general. I definitely agree with the idea of secularism, and humanism in general doesn't seem like a negative thing. So if someone want to label me as such, I wouldn't like push back too hard. Yeah, of course, there's conservatives reporting things. That's what they do. Like, and dude, don't get me wrong. That's the kind of thing that annoys me about this whole like people getting mad about like getting canceled on TikTok or social media at large. Is like everybody reports everybody. Like liberals report conservatives, leftists report liberals and conservatives report everybody, and then the mods will come in and because you got reported, will remove your content, like TikTok moderation system, all that jazz, right? So it's like if everyone just learned to chill the fuck out and just scroll past an opinion you didn't fucking like, be all good. And don't get me wrong, man. Some things like I think some things are worth getting canceled, like or should be canceled. Like for example, if you're like harming a minor, if you're like harming an animal, um, if you're using like clear and obvious hate speech towards people and you get canceled, that's a you problem, man, because that's ugly shit. But there's a lot of things I don't like on this app. Even times where I see like disinformation and shit like that. But man, I'm not gonna report it, dude. Like I don't got time for that. And I know how I get when people report my shit and it gets taken down. So you know what's good for the goose is good for the gander type of thing. It's easy. That's funny, bro. Am I an anarchist? No, I'm not an anarchist. I've always said this when it comes to like my politics today and like my views on this shit. Um, I'm a hard left issueist if I got to give myself a label. Obviously, for like fourth time, I said this today. I don't really like anything coming out of the right wing camp. I don't like liberalism. I don't identify with any of the leftist camps. But that being said, I certainly have a soft spot for the different branches of communism, anarchism, socialism, and how some of those intersect and things like that. Definitely have a soft spot there. I don't know, man. Just depends. What's up, Berts? Welcome in. Dude, I'd be down to play the Geico Caveman. Those are some pretty funny commercials sometimes. No, I don't really want to move to Russia. I'm not a huge fan of Putin. And yes, anti capitalist for sure. Hey, what's up from Illinois? I'm on the West Coast. Crisscross. This guy is absolutely losing it. Maybe. Let's hope not, for y'all's sake. Oh yeah, definitely leftist, no doubt about it. Just a specific, a specific camp. I don't know. Yeah, Nordic countries seem to. Yeah, I would vote for Bernie Sanders. I mean, yo, Vin, uh, Project Vin. I mean, dude, I sucked it up and voted for Joe. First time I ever voted for a Democrat at the national level was Joe Biden, because of how much I just couldn't stand Donald Trump. So, yeah, Bernie Sanders would have definitely had my vote. What do I like about America? Um, what I like about America is it gave my dad an amazing chance to build something off of nothing. And there's a little bit of survivorship bias here. But I've been lucky enough to travel, got family in different parts of the world and stuff like that. And I do think there's this immediate rush to like discredit everything about the USA without kind of placing it into context compared to other countries. And we do have like, I don't know. There's pros and cons to it, right? So, like for example, if you're like in a bigger city or like a more kind of urban area, you're going to have like access to like the ability to like to consume really easily, right? And there's something good about that on some level, obviously. Um, I think we got pretty good. I'm in Sacramento, so we got pretty good tap water. I mean, like the problem is it's just understanding that the good things of this country often come on the backs of others who don't have equal access to those things. And so that's kind of the problem for me. So if you have it good in America, you have it as good as anywhere in the world, right? Like if you have like the ability to have like good healthcare, you got like a solid job with good healthcare. You live in an area where police aren't all over your ass. You live in an area where there's higher property taxes, right? You live in an area where there's better funding for education and shit like that. You're living in one of the best areas of the world, no doubt about that. The problem is that is unequal across the country, right? So, and then you also have to consider for those who have it good in this country, how does that harm others across the globe, right? So Biden is probably going to be one term. I would agree with that. Might see a. So someone check me on this, but would he be the first sitting president to get primaried out? Would that be a thing? Would that be? I don't know if that's ever happened. No one has a good life in America. That's like I don't even know like how you could make that claim. You so you're gonna find like one of my bigger pet peeves are absolute statements. It's why I can't stand like voting has no impact because it's an absolute statement that is like literally indefensible. Um, so when you say no one has a good life in America, that's like literally impossible to defend. Like if even one person thinks they have a good life, or we can even point to like metrics that would typically signify a good life and like find those within one individual, your statement would mean nothing. So I don't get why people say shit like that. Just weird. I don't think voting suppressing leftist creators are paid trolls. I don't think that's a thing, man. I think they're just really naive sometimes. They're really jaded sometimes. They're really privileged sometimes. Um, Now, there's certain people who are anti-voting because of their experience being disenfranchised within this country. I disagree with their take in terms of strategy, but like I'm not gonna fucking push back too hard because like their perspective is valid. Like fair enough, right? This country has done you pretty fucking dirty. You don't see a reason to partake, or you don't see like um, the positives in partaking, and I can't really push back on that viewpoint in terms of your like individual experience and justification for your decision. When it comes to like what's going to impact things strategically, right? And trying to implement leftist policy, right? And trying to kind of promote leftist ideas and trying to promote a more leftist climate, I think it's silly. So I don't think Trump's going to prison, man. What's up, Jay? Our MAGA supporters, the real patriots. Oh, that's ugly, Fredster. Yeah, like obvious white supremacy, that'll get a block for you. Welcome in, Anthony. Appreciate that. Is that Jeff Hefe? If I butchered your name, I apologize. Yeah, he probably should, but so thoughts on third party candidate. I mean, like I myself, because I'm in California, I have the privilege of living in a blue state. So this next time around, unless the DNC promotes a real progressive who can win the primary, I'm probably going to vote third party. I voted third party in 2016 because again, I'm in California. If I was in a battleground state, I have to rethink my voting habits. But I would like to see a third party get 5%. That would be a good thing, right? You start to get some federal funding and things like that. But yeah, we need ranked choice voting, like Michael just said, instead of winner take all, maybe like a proportional system and things like that. But again, I would be really surprised if Donald Trump sees any time behind bars. Like whether he should or shouldn't, I think he should, but you have to consider what would the reaction be. I don't know, man. So yeah, well, the scary thing about DeSantis is so if you look at like his political spending and where their ads are being ran up until about a few months ago, I think over 90% of his ads, of course, were targeted towards Florida. But in the last like 3 months, I think it is, you're seeing more and more ads targeting the nation at large, which can mean one of two things. Either he's gearing up for his own run in 2024, or he's trying to increase fundraising out of state. So we'll see. We will see. That's kind of who I'm thinking. I'm worried about a DeSantis run in 2024, and I'm also worried about a Mike Pompeo run. I still think he's a dark horse candidate. Um, we'll see though, man. I mean, I'm not the only bigger grifter than Donald Trump alive today. Might be Elon Musk. Elon Musk is one hell of a grifter. That's interesting. Totally unsurprising news, isn't it? Elon Musk backing out of the Twitter deal. Shocker. Except he's not going to be able to just walk away from that. Like there's going to be so for starters, if either one of the parties had broken the agreement, Twitter or Elon, they would have been held to paying, I think like $1 billion, I believe, at least $1 billion. And then plus there's going to be a real conversation about Elon Musk's antics, his intentions, and their impact on Twitter's stock prices and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. Boom, boom, boom. I don't know if he's got $1 billion to burn. He does have a lot of money, man. Yeah, he might have $1 billion to burn. Yeah, he's got $1 billion to burn. But the problem is, it's not like he's just like sitting on like billions of dollars. You know what I'm saying? He can just like toss it over. And again, the bigger ramifications are gonna be like if there's anything legal attached to. Again, it's gonna depend on what they think his intentions were, and if Twitter can prove that he lost, like he impacted their bottom line, if he impacted their share prices and things like that, because he did, right? Well, I think that's another thing too, right? So Musk jumps into the political sphere as he has, and look at how much shit came out about him just in the last few months. I don't think he wants his private life being exposed to that extent. So he might have got bullied back out of the buy. So yeah, that's a term that doesn't get tossed around enough in the U.S. as it should. You do have oligarchs here who certainly influence the political process. Boom, 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 boom. Do you think there will be a civil war? Um, I'd like to say no, but given the current trajectory, not looking great. I'm not sure, man. Like we're already seeing. Here's the problem: we're already seeing like an increase in violence, especially violence due to like political ideologies and things like that. I don't think that's going to decrease, and so add in a climate that is increasingly polarized, add in one party that is ineffective in its ability to stop another party from the continuation of its push to strip rights, add in the rhetoric kind of being utilized by Republicans. Um, Not a good path, man. But like, I don't know. I don't know what a civil war looks like in today's America. You know what I'm saying? So like, We might think like Civil War, like 1865. If it happens, I don't see it looking like that. It might be more regional, if anything, but I don't know, man. Maybe more regional is what it might look like, right? So, for example, you got clash between, like, so even in California here, right? You have like your more rural areas, which are like state of Jefferson level. They want to pull away. They're in the recall, Gavin Newsom, something like that. So it might be more like even like within states, right? Rural versus urban type of thing. But I don't fucking know. I wouldn't want to have kids right now. What does a unified left look like, and how does it start? These right wing groups may be laughable. Okay, this is something someone said made a good point. All right, so like we like to talk about, and I fall prey to this all the time. Like we like to make fun of conservatives and Republicans like for not being smart, but if they're not smart and they're winning this battle politically in terms of implementing what they want, what the fuck does that make us? Even less smart, right? Like if you can't, it's kind of like why I got really annoyed about the whole like Donald Trump thing, because in my opinion, Donald Trump doesn't really have a political philosophy. I just think he's a hyper narcissist. And that's actually someone who's really easy to deal with, in my opinion, right? If you're like a DNC type, um, if you're a DNC type, if you just pump him up with some nice words and you give him some compliments and then you suggest something, he's probably gonna be like amicable today. Like, oh, you know what? This seems like a good idea. Let's give it a try. You're nice to me. Like it's literally that fucking simple. Like Vladimir Putin, like a historical rival, just paid Trump some compliments, and Trump was like, "This is a good guy. I can talk to him." You know, it's like literally that fucking simple. So it makes you wonder sometimes. There's a difference between intelligent and having common sense. Trump had the economy booming, though. I mean, if you look at like economic growth, it wasn't increasing at a rate that was more significant than the final years of Obama. So, if anything, you could say that it was just a continuation of what was going on before that. If you look at inflation, I would argue that how much money was printed and some of our policies, which was beneath Donald Trump, he probably has a hand on. If you look at some of our trade policy and things like that, he's had a hand on that. I mean, there's this common theme with like things that Donald Trump was in charge of, but there's this like great boom. Things start out really good. And then, of course, that's not sustainable because it's not realistic and there's not any long term thought process there. It's just short term, short term, short term. And they fucking fall out and go bankrupt. And we're probably seeing that cycle right now. Well, it's not all Trump's fault. Like, it's not his fault there was a pandemic. Of course, how we responded to that pandemic's on him to some extent. But yeah, I wouldn't say Trump had the economy booming so much as this things were kind of already going well, especially in the recovery after '08. Once we kind of settled from that, things had been improving in general. So how is Biden? So here's the thing, man. Oh my God. For the longest time growing up when I was a conservative, I heard the 90s were booming because of Ronald Reagan's policies, right? I was always taught that, oh, you know what? Like you have to look at the years after a president to see how good things are. So that's what was said in defense of Ronald Reagan, right? After he fucking skyrocketed the debt and after the 90s boom under Clinton, right? So by that same token, if things fucking suck in the immediate aftermath, wouldn't that be the president before if we keep the consistent logic that's applied to Reagan? Or are we just going to throw your logic out the window, which is totally fine? That is the norm. Like, dude, and again, I'm not here to apologize for Biden. Biden fucking sucks. Fuck Joe Biden. But come on, man. Oh, dude, my mom's side of the family's conservative as all heck, dude. I have to listen to. I don't, not as much actually, because I've cut a lot of them out. But I got to listen to a lot of their BS. What's up, Rational? How you doing, bro? Number, yeah. At 8 years old, I remember listening to Family and conservatives and talk radio and Fox News and all that good stuff, man. The rhetoric never really changed. Nuance, bro. Depends on always nuance, 100%. Gary Johnson, Mr. Where is Aleppo? dude, Biden fucking sucks, dude. And the DNC is fucking dumb. Like, if you look at, and again, it's super old, it's super early, right? It's like, take this shit for what it is. Um, Polls at this point don't mean too much. But right now, Biden and Kamala Harris are not polling well. Like, they're not polling well against the Trump, against the DeSantis. And if you're the DNC, that should worry you. Yeah, Mr. Where is Aleppo? I don't know what's going on in Syria. I blame the DNC for Trump. I don't know if I blame the DNC for Trump, but I think they certainly played their role in Trump. I think there's a lot of things we could blame. But yeah, if you want to blame the DNC in part or point to some of their actions, I think that's totally fair. The last election cycle, Bernie Sanders. If I could have picked a candidate, it would have been Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is the one that I liked. Going back to 2016, would have been Bernie Sanders again. Someone I like on the Republican side of things, I like John Kasich a lot more than I like Trump. I could have handled even a Jeb Bush over a Trump. I actually like Trump more than Ted Cruz. I can't stand Ted Cruz. Makes me just want to lose my head. But Bernie Sanders then. I like Tulsi Gabbard once upon a time. She's kind of gone off the deep end in my opinion. I liked Andrew Yang at one point. He's kind of gone off the deep end in my opinion in some ways. Yeah, Bernie Sanders is someone who I've identified with the most in the last 6 years now. I used to like Tulsi a lot more. Lately, I'm not a Tulsi fan. I kind of concerned about some of her rhetoric when it comes to the LGBTQ plus community and her past in regards to that. Um, Her foreign policy, I actually like it most of the time, but I think she's a little too extreme in her inability to kind of understand that this is not a one size fit all type of thing. Like, she's pretty isolationist in some ways, and sometimes it doesn't work like that. Like, I don't agree with her views on Syria. Um, like, I don't agree with her views on Syria. I don't agree with her views on Russia in general. But her foreign policy and like at large is actually a lot better than most politicians. Um, it's just when it's not like, or when it is problematic, it's a pretty fucking bad time to be problematic. But I don't know, man. I think Tulsi's trying to kind of both sides things right now. So let's hear it. The real pie guy. All right, I do. Well, if you say challenge for me like 3 times, you got to give me the challenge at some point. Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom's a lib, man. I think he's aggressive in terms of how he tries to go at his opponents and things like that. I think he might be someone who'd be really kind of more willing to have a hard line against Republicans to some extent, more so than we see with other establishment Dems. But also don't like. I don't like how he individually approached things with COVID. I didn't have a huge issue with some of his policies, but he really messed up in terms of like, so we had certain restrictions and stuff going on in California, and there was a weekend where like we had really not even like really like kind of crowded beaches, and I think he miscalculated in terms of like he like shut beaches down and stuff after that, and the political outcry from that kind of pushed back across a lot of his other politics and all of their policies and stuff like that. I think he miscalculated there. When we were at the height of lockdowns and things like that here, he was still doing like dinners in Napa and stuff like that, and kind of under the guise that, well, things are different in this county, but it's like, yeah, but you lead by example. I'm not a huge Gavin Newsom fan, but like not the worst either. Yeah, someone talked about Katie Porter earlier. That's someone who I'd support over Gavin Newsom for sure. So give Trump credit where credit is due. Out of any president in my lifetime, Donald Trump's administration was the best in regards to Iran. There's your credit. I actually like AOC. I'm cool with AOC. Every once in a while, she'll say something that's I think kind of like, I don't know about that. But largely, I like AOC. Also, guys, No, so here's the thing. I actually agree with hawkish foreign policy towards Iran because I am Iranian, and I always say that with the major caveat that I don't speak for Iranians or Iranian Americans. I will always say that every time. Um, a little background about me: I do some writing and social media work with OYAC, which is the Organization of Iranian American Communities. And through that organization, we support the NCRI, specifically the NCRI US division. So that's the National Council for Resistance of Iran. And the National Council for Resistance of Iran is an opposition group that has been fighting the Iranian regime, and even before that, the Shah, for a long time, trying to bring a democratic, secular Iran to fruition, right? The reason I support the hawkish foreign policy is because it played to that group's hands. Anything that hurts the regime, I'm gonna usually be okay with. Um, so, do I like the foreign policy in the sense that I think Donald Trump knew what the fuck he was doing? Largely no. Do I like the foreign policy in the sense that it found me playing ball with people like John Bolton and Mike Pompeo? No. Ugly bedfellows, right? But the regime is someone who's killed hundreds of thousands of my people. In 1988 alone, they killed 30,000 people in a 3 month span. They're an incredibly brutal dictatorship that's predicated upon their religious extremism. So yeah, I'm cool with it. I don't fuck with the nuclear deal. My authoritarianism came out when Donald Trump ordered the strike on Soleimani. I was like, yeah, dude, I have to grapple with this moment because I like the end result, but I also understand that this is a really authoritarian thing that I'm supporting right now, right? But I think we all have our moments where we have these kind of clashes of principle, and for me, that was my moment. So, and let me go find the gauntlet above. This better be good. I'm scrolling back up. I don't see anything, dude. You have a trans homeless person move into you, and I'll have a deaf homeless guy move in. I don't get the gauntlet. It's a waste of time. Yeah, dude. I mean, I've told you, Dutch, one of the hardest things ever was being at an event where Mike Pompeo was the keynote speaker, and he's just feeding BS. Because we know that Mike Pompeo and John Bolton, they don't really support a democratic Iran. So they only support the resistance as long as it suits them to try and kind of get back at the regime, right? Um, so like hearing him talk about how he supports the head of the CIA at the time, hearing how he talks about in supports of free, democratic, secular Iran, like that line I just gave, and like looking back at 53, looking back at their actions in the 70s, it's a fucking slap in the face. Um, but you play the game, right? No, I don't think Trump will get trialed for anything. I don't think Trump's going to see like I don't think Trump's going to see any consequences. And yeah, I mean the yeah. So what's happened to the people of Yemen is like disgusting and sad, man. And you can blame Saudi Arabia, you can blame the United States of America, and you can blame the Iranian regime, right? Because the Iranian regime is promoting, supporting, training, and pumping resources and weapons towards the Houthi rebels, right? And then obviously, the United States of America and Saudi Arabia are also behind policies that impact the people of Yemen and their ability to kind of get access to resources they need and shit like that. It's like, I mean, off the top of my head, the biggest, if not one of the biggest humanitarian crises in the world right now. So, yeah, rational history. That's another one where I'm like, I'm probably hypocritical, man. I'll be honest. I currently support sanctions against the Iranian regime. But here's why I support sanctions against the Iranian regime. So let's say you end sanctions and there's an increased flow of resources, goods, capital, things like that into the country. The reality is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, who's responsible for protecting the revolution, the Islamic Revolution, right? They have a hand in 70 to 90% of the Iranian economy through front organizations, front companies, things like that. So the money that goes in that country goes directly to the regime, not to the people, and it goes directly towards their ability to suppress the people. It goes directly into their ability to kind of wage terrorism throughout the area and destabilize the Middle East at large, right? So if that was capital, it was actually going to go back towards the people in a significant manner, I would support it, right? I'd be like, fuck, this it sucks to suck. Sometimes I got to eat this one, but the people don't see that, right? So when the nuclear deal ended, when it got going and sanctions were lessened or even some sanctions eliminated, you didn't see an increase in quality of life for the Iranian people. You just saw an increase in the IRGC's ability to have a cash flow to then turn into those things I was just talking about, right? The economy still got worse. Things were still getting worse for people, right? So examples, you had like serious earthquakes in the southern part of Iran. There were people from other provinces, other cities trying to actually help people in that region, right? Sending supplies there and shit. And the government would take those supplies and then take them out of state or out of the country towards other things going on, like with Hezbollah, right? And Yemen, so on and so forth. So no, I'm cool with sanctions. The tanky in me, right? The tanky in me, the anarchist in me, fucking put your word on it, the accelerationist in me, it comes out with Iran, because in my opinion, that is a situation where there is no peaceful path to change things. There is no democratic path to change things. There is no window beyond uprising by the people of Iran. And so the conditions will probably have to get worse for enough people to rise up. I don't agree with that mentality here, because I don't think those things are true for the conditions of the United States of America, right? Because I think everything when it comes to your strategy and what you want to do going forward is about how you analyze the situation at hand. And that's why I get really tired of people like pointing to like, Tsarist Russia as a playbook for what's happening in the United States of America in 2022. They're not the fucking same, right? But that's something I have to grapple with, right? I could be deeply hypocritical on the topic of sanctions, because more often than not, I don't support sanctions. So, but it has been an hour, so I think I'm gonna call it. No, my dad's Iranian. My mom is from the U.S. She's a mutt, a bunch of different things. So my mom doesn't like the Republican Party, but she can't stand Democrats either. So we don't agree on politics all the time. So, but yeah, I'm gonna call it tonight, guys. Appreciate you guys being here. Mondays and Fridays, 6 o'clock Pacific time, 9 o'clock Eastern. Check out the YouTube page. Because a lot of my TikTok content's getting pulled right now. So I just posted on the Instagram. Check out the YouTube page, youtube.com/mute the media. Check us out here Mondays and Fridays. You can go to mutethemedia.org and other resources there to check out if you want to.